We're going to continue from where we stopped last week. And I'm trying to on my system, sorry, my program. Can you guys see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay. We are going to create a new project. If you are on your system, just open your After Effects. I'm guessing your After Effects is open at the moment. Are your software is open? If your software are open, for this class, I'll be working with After Effects and Illustrator. The last time we worked with Photoshop, importing project file from Photoshop. This time around, I'll be teaching you how we could import a project file from Illustrator. Right here, I have Illustrator. I'm just trying to set up the program. Just a minute. Let me just set up my project file. Now, when I'm working with, can you hear me?
Yes.
When working with Illustrator or photo or any design software, and you want to animate, you you have to separate your layers, prepare your layout. Now, how there's an approach you need to go with when arranging your layout. What you do is that you you have to you have to treat everything as a single layer. What I mean is that if there's anything that you're going to animate, if there's anything that you're going to move, eh, that thing, that that subject or that element need to be separated from need to be separated from the rest of your artboard. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean. I'm getting interference. I don't know which person's mic is. Okay. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say. What I mean is that before you can start animating, everything needs to be organized. And when I mean organized, I don't just mean the your design for it. You get? I don't just mean your design. I'm talking about everything, like the elements. This is an element. This is an element. This is an element. This is an element. You get? Everything here, everything that's supposed to move independently are elements. Now, over here, these are where your elements are arranged. If you want to prepare this stuff for animation, you have to separate everything you need, every element that you need to move independently. For example, now everything here are in a layer. They are all in a layer. Now that they're in a layer, if you want to import them to After Effects, After Effects will treat all of them as a single artboard, so you will not be able to move them independently. So this will not be a problem if you are using a plugin to import. There's a plugin I'm using. It's called Overload. Overload. And if let me just give you an example. Let me just give you an example how this plugin works before I show you the original way of importing your layer. So I'm creating a new document. I want the document to be the same size as my artboard. So I'll call this motion design. I want to work with 20 seconds. I will leave the rest as they are. Now, if I want to move anything from here, all I can just do is to click here, this plugin, Overload, push selection to AE, and it will just automatically push everything into the software. If I get something else, let's say this text, I push, it comes here. If I want to take this as well. I push, it comes here. So I don't need to carry everything. I can just select just what I need and it will push. So that is that. But then the other method of importing to AE with an Illustrator file, you just have to go to import, file, you look for where the document was saved. Now look at it. Always change this thing to composition size. Composition. The difference between composition and footage is that footage will just merge everything into one layer. But composition means that whatever layers you arrange your stuff in After Effects in your design program like Photoshop or Illustrator, that is the same layer it will retain. So once I have that fixed, I just click on it. Now if I click on this folder, I can see everything. Now there's a problem. Let me just add the background. Now this is the problem. The problem is that the software merge everything into one. So I cannot separate anything. I cannot animate anything separately. You can see that this is because of how I've arranged everything. So now I can't animate anything because it's one layer now. But if assuming I separated my layers by creating more layers of things I want separated. For example, this for Port Harcourt City, if I cut it from here and I paste it here, if you want to paste, if you want to copy, you use your Ctrl C. If you want to paste on a new layer, use Ctrl F. Okay, so let me just name this Port Harcourt. Let me name this Port Harcourt. I'll take this as well, put it in a new layer, motion design. Always form the habit of ordering your layers. It will help you a lot. Always form the habit of ordering your layer. So the process is always tiring. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. So as you can see, I've taken some time to separate some of the element into different layouts. I'm going to share this file now on the Slack channel. Let me see if I can. Hold on. Let me just create a download link so that we can all access the file. So for those that have Illustrator, I've shared the download link so you could download it if for those that can follow along. Now we are going to do that same exercise again where we we're going to do that same exercise again where we import the that um where we import the document again. Now if you look at the document or the project file rather, we can find that everything now is an independent layer. You get. So for example, if we decide to animate this stuff, the Port Harcourt, if we decide to animate the Port Harcourt, let's say we want to scale it. You find out that only the Port Harcourt is affected. If we decide to let me just overlay some the background. So if we decide now to maybe the this June, we want to reduce the opacity, let's say from 0 to 100. You get it is animate independently. But then but then there's a little challenge with this method. This method of importing, when we import using this method, the the text the text editability will be lost. We can no longer edit the text from here. Rather, we can rather than the other one, the other method which we use this plugin, we can edit the text from there. For example, if I decide to change this into you get we can edit it, we can change the text, and we can animate the text using the animation text character. But here we have to just create use our text tool and create that same text motion design hangout. The reason why you can't see it is because the font color is white and the background is white. So what we can do, we just have to change the text color by going over to character and changing it back to the text we are using, which is popping, so as you can see, now I have the same editable text now. So if I decide to animate it using this animation preset or any other edition I want to edit, you get it will affect the program. Now let me make a few notes from what we have done, from what we have been doing so far. A little disclaimer: animation is a pro- is a virtue. Like, you need to be patient. You need to be patient. You need to be patient. It's not all fun and game. You just need to have patience because majority 80% of your time while animating, you spend it preparing your project. no matter how good you are, you get you will always have to prepare your project. Yes, there are shortcuts, there are plugins, there are tools that can ease the process, just like the few ones I've mentioned, just like the few ones you've seen me use. But then you shouldn't be dependent on on these um on these tools all the time, or let me say on these plugins all the time. You get, because from personally, I discovered these plugins later in my career. You get, and I already know how to do what I can do efficiently without using the plugin. Just like I demonstrated, assuming I'm just opening After Effects for the first time and Illustrator for the first time, I've showed you how you can arrange your projects. You get, I've told you how you can arrange your project without those plugins. You just have to go to import the project file. If if there are a lot of things you need to animate individually, you separate them properly. Take your time, you separate them from the artboard. You get, you group them into layers so that you can animate them independently. This is a simple animation. We don't have pictures. We are just having um text and shapes. You get, it can get complex. It can get so complex. But then, no matter how complex your artwork would be, no matter how complex your artwork can be, once you understand your foundation and what you want to do, you will not be intimidated. The only disadvantage is your time. But when you spend the time setting up your project well, that's why I have to take my time and show you that yes, on the spot you can do this on your own. Sorry, a second. So you can do this on your own. Yeah, you just need to develop the patience, honestly speaking. Now, another thing you should note, motion design is design. Again, motion design is design. It's it's a long it will be a long, harder process if you don't know how to design and use design tools. If you notice, I didn't say a lot of things. I was just doing things because there are a lot of fix I need to fix, and I was just making use of my design tool. What I've been doing so far was using my design tools. I use my text tool. I use my point my selection tool. I have been checking my um alignment. I've been positioning it. I've been choosing my font. I've been Everything that I've just been doing. First and foremost, I've just been designing. You get, I've just been designing. Now, before I before I even got this artwork that is solid to animate, I I had to go through some design processes. I had to design the artboard first of all. Get, you need, as a motion designer, you are first a designer. You need to know how to design. You get, the it's not about the complexity of the um the the animation. most times it comes down to how how detailed your your design is. You get, or let me say how perfect your design can look, first of all. You get. So even if you are given an asset that is not well designed or well arranged, but because of your little practices on design, you can get it done. So what you could do to help you design, you could take a UI UX course, you could practice UI UX, you could practice graphic design, you could volunteer and to be doing designs in your church or anywhere just to keep you practicing. You get, because the more you practice design, the easier it get for you to animate properly. You get, the easier you can animate, the easier you can animate. So you'll be at a disadvantage if you don't practice and if you don't have a stomach to learn. You get. So far, your your curriculum is for to getting started with motion design are very basic. The curriculum everywhere, anywhere is very basic. But then you just need to you just need to practice. The more you practice, the more you discover things, get to the more you get to the more better you become, rather. Okay. So we have imported from Photoshop, we have imported from Illustrator. Okay. We have from the last class we animated shapes. Uh we animated some shapes, we animated a lot of things. Um layers, opacity, timing, ease in, ease out. We created a composition, we created a composition and so more. There are few more techniques or practices that you need to note, which I'm going to that are very important in motion design in with using After Effects. We also have path. For example, I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to create a new composition. Let me just say 2000, or let me just use 1920 by 1080. Now we have a blank artboard. Okay. Like I said, this is your project panel. This is your timeline. These are where some functions and if features are. You get, these are where they are, and these are where you find some of your tools. So just get used to this. Now, using your pen tool, there's what we call path animation, and we are going to animate a path. I'm going to do different things now. I'm going to show you different type of path animation. If using your pen tool, you can draw you can draw a path. You can draw a path. It could be anything. I'm just using a simple a simple shape. I'm just using a simple shape. This is one. Or if you use your shape layer, you draw a rectangle, you can draw a star, you can draw a circle. Now we can animate the path. If you look at this place, there's this dot. If you want to solo a layer, you can just click on this and to solo that layer. You click on any, if you want two different layers, you can just solo them. I just want to solo the last one, which is the path. When you toggle hold down, there's this place called add. If you can find it here. Here you can apply some kind of different type of animation. Sorry, different type of effect. I'm going to use trim path. Now what trim path does is that with trim path you can animate this the start and the end of this. You can there's always a start and there's always the end. So this is what happened when I change the parameters in the start. You see it moved from the left to the right. If I choose end, what it does is that it moves from the right to the left. Now let me set a keyframe. Like if I move this into 1 to 5 seconds and I change it to 0, using your F9, you can adjust the smoothness of the animation. Let's try it again. Now with this, when you are, this is what we call this is your graph editor. Now the graph editor help you animate the acceleration of the movement. Okay. If you drag it here, that means your animation will start slow. Then it will increase at this peak. Then it reduce back. That's ease in and ease out. If I move it this way to the left, you'll notice that it will start fast, then it slows down. if I go back to it and maybe I adjust this thing like this and this one this way, watch what happens. It starts slow, then it ends fast. But this is not the vibe I'm going for. I want it to start a bit faster in a way, and I want it to end it slowly. I want it to accelerate slowly, coming back. If you adjust your keyframe, if I move this keyframe closer, the animation speed up. Watch how the animation speed up. Okay. If I increase it, it slow down. Now, the same thing we did here, we can do it on the many shape. The same thing we do here, we can do it in the many shape. Sorry, sorry for the break. So the same thing, we can do this same thing with this shape. Let's go and frame path. Start and end it. The reason why it's affecting the two shapes is because the two shapes were drawn on the same layer. Okay, the two shapes we are drawn on the same layer. That's why it's affecting the two shapes. There's something else we can do. If you notice the edge or the cap of the shape of the part is square, is sharp. If that's not the effect you are going for, you can apply another effect. That's rounded. Okay, sorry, it's still under here. If you go to your twin part, if you go under your shape rather, you find you will find an option under stroke. Right here, where you see a line cap, if you change it to rounded, you notice the edge have turned rounded. So that's for there. Another effect we can find is the rounded corners. What this effect does is that if you want the edge of this thing to of the object to be like this, if you don't want it to be sharp, you could animate it. I think where one where I apply this stuff, I there's a project I did that I apply something like this. Let me look for the project. So I'm looking for the project. Just a sec. So you see where I use that same method. Where the name of the date of the event was applied. So there are different ways you can use this. You can use this technique. You can use it to animate. You can also use it to animate. One of the places this stuff is mostly this technique can be mostly used is logo animation. You can use it with logo animation. For example, I think there's a logo I did where I use this. Okay, I think if you notice, I apply that same technique here. The same technique was also applied when I had to review the 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 letters Green Spark. So what I did was that I used my part two and I do these letters so that I could review them individually. It's a very simple process, but then it takes a lot of time and patience. I think there are three other logo options was done that was done using this technique. Let me see if I can get another sample. We're able to see that screen. Hello? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Your file explorer.
No, I'm not more in my file explorer.
Well, I still see your file explorer.
Okay, hold on. Can you see this other screen now?
Yeah, yeah.
The animation is a bit fast, but hope you can see. Hope you saw it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I did it here. This is another application where how you can do it.
Your file explorer is still showing up.
Oh, my file explorer. Hold on. Can you
Okay,
see
now
this
the
now?
video is showing.
So like I was saying, there are different. They are all simple techniques and different way you can use them. Now this other one I just use opacity and positioning. So it's all about how you understand animation. Every complex animation, no matter how complex it look, it just come down to the basic, which are review, trim path, position, opacity, scale, and the rest. You can create wonderful animation. You can animate your logo, um, and many more, just using simple tricks. simple tricks. So back to this. Back to this. So these are the example for you doing part. There's something else we call masking, alpha masking, and the rest. I'm going to give you an example. For example, if I have a picture, if I have a picture that let me get the picture. Now, this is a picture. If I want to mask this picture, I could use my pen tool and let's say draw over the picture or the whatever I want from this picture in particular. This is a rough work. If you are doing a detailed work, you will know how you arrange your point. So there are a few things you can do here. Under your mask property, you could decide to increase your feather. When you increase your feather, what happens is that the edges get more a bit blur so that it will feel natural. Again, this is the same trick in editing. Again, you can also choose to animate the path. For example, if I want maybe this particular part, sorry, a moment. If I want this thing to move it forward, so that is we are going to there are there are there are ways you can apply this simple effect. But this I'm just trying to demonstrate, and we're going to come to that later very soon. Now there's other ways of masking in After Effects. Well, let me just delete this mask for now. Let's say I have a shape and this shape have a few. If I want this picture inside this box, what I can do is what I can do is I can go change my mode to alpha math. When you change your mode to alpha math, it will just mask whatever is below on top of what is above. If you use what invert does is that it does the opposite of alpha math. So whatever is below will not be revealed. Will not be revealed. Now, for a composition, there's what we call pre-composing. When we pre-compose a composition, let's say insert picture. One thing about animation, you can edit everything as though it was a template. So, and how that thing works is that, for example, if I duplicate this stuff and I scale it down, maybe, and I duplicate this again, I take it here, for example. Now, if I click on any of them, if I click on any of them and I change what is inside, let's say to another type of picture or a video even. If you go back to your original composition, what happens is that
Close to invent the next.
that same composition those compositions will change
Close to invent the next.
will change automatically. They all change automatically. And whatever if you edit them again, they change together. Now this can come as an advantage or a disadvantage. Again, if you want to change one and you don't want it to affect the other one, you have to redo the same thing from scratch, the base one from scratch. Another way you can do this is by using a plugin called toolcomp. I have toolcomp on my system just to save time. If I use toolcomp and I duplicate this stuff, now I have a second one. Let's call it 2. If I insert the second one now, and I decide to change the content inside it. And you go back to your find out that now we have this stuff independent from the rest of the action. So whatever happens to the original artwork will not affect the rest. Whatever changes you make will not affect the rest. So that is about masking. The next thing you need to do is effect and presets. Effect and preset. This is these are your effect and preset. Wow. Using your effect and preset, if I go back to my original, if I go back to my original design, if I go back to my original design, I might click on text animation, animate in. If I choose fade up wall, we notice the effect. If you want to adjust the timing, you can just drag. You can drag it how long you want to drag. If I don't want to use this effect, there are still other effects you can use. You just have to browse through all of them and know which of them you want to use in any situation. There is this one. You can browse to your library of effects. We have the typewriter. This one creates the illusion of as though you were using a typewriter. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I would love to backtrack.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I would love to backtrack now. I want to backtrack now so that we can all synchronize well, because after this class, everything going to start getting more complex. I don't want to be very comfortable with the speed I'm going, because I'm just having this assumption that maybe everything is easy. Sometimes I use some shortcut without explaining. Sometimes I can just use a tool without taking you guys through the process. So at this point I want to accommodate question. If there's any process that I did that you don't really you are not following, please, this is the time to call me back. Let me take it gradually again so far.
Can I ask a question outside of what we did today?
Yeah, but I that we'll come to that. But I just want any question relating to what we are doing, what we did today first.
Okay.
But then we'll
Okay.
attend to such question.
Okay.
Any difficulty, any challenge so far? Because okay, yeah, Rita.
Sorry, please, can you start from the beginning again? I
Beginning,
don't
beginning.
understand one thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which which side of the beginning?
Ah. From when you started, when you imported this file, yes.
Okay. Let's
I think
see.
manually, yes. When you imported the file manually, it's not when you were moving one up. When you imported it, like generally imported it from.
Okay. Is that all?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I understand it can get very tricky from here. It's normal. Even myself, this part, honestly speaking, this part is a bit complicated or strange for beginners. And I know I can remember I had my struggles in it originally. But once you get through this phase, this part of importing and playing with your element that you have imported, the rest is history. Now, working with After Effects, you can create almost everything from scratch. For example, I could look at a design. Let me say, I could look at a design. Let's say this guy. Let me show. Hold on. Can you see this guy?
Yes.
Awesome. Now, I can look at this guy and I can decide to create him from scratch with After Effects. Now, this is how I approach it. I set my composition. This is where to create a new composition. You see where they write create new composition. If you click on it, you can adjust your size. By size, I mean the dimension of your artboard. Let's say 1080 by 1080. You get that's social media standard, like let's say pirate. Okay. Now this is a blank project. Okay. I could get an inspiration from this guy. And when I drag him to my project, we see everything. But I cannot animate this guy because it's just one layer, right?
Yes.
So what I will do is I can build this guy from scratch. It's gonna take a long process, but then you need to know this long process, because when you understand the longer process, you can now know how to use some shortcut on your own. So let me go to new create solid. I could use my pen picker and pick the color of the background, and let's say let's call it BG. Okay. Now this background, I can hide it first for now. Then what I will do, I get my pen tool. This is a lot longer process than using the Illustrator file, but then it's essential I explain this so that when we go back to using an Illustrator file, it will be much more easier. So I'm designing now with After Effects to show that it must not always have to start with a design software. You get. So we have Creative Tribe. So what I do, I I just position him where I want him to be. You can select your font.
Poppins. Sorry.
No, this is for now. I'm just freestyling because um there was no design guideline. When I mean design guideline, there was no specification. We are not working with a client that is specifying our rules. Now we are just doing things because we want to design. Okay. So I can decide to choose this font now. The next thing is to duplicate it so that I don't have to start from scratch anymore, and change the type to private. Okay, we have our type. The next thing I can do is my shape. The shape. You're gonna you will have to pardon me a bit because I just have to I just feel comfortable creating this shape with Illustrator because of the technique I want to use. So we have this shape. Then let's see. Part of the requirement for you to be a motion designer, I'll keep saying is that you should at least know how to design. So I do, I would have apologized, but I don't have to apologize for anyone who cannot do this using Illustrator because this is not a design class, it's a motion design class. So if you still don't know how to use Illustrator or CorelDRAW or any design software to draw your shape, you need to work as twice as hard than your colleagues so that you can meet up. That's just what it takes. Again, that's just what it takes. So I'm not going to make it so perfect. I just need to show you that it's all in the day's work. So like I said, I'm going to create recompose this guy. Now what we have everything independently arranged. So this is how you could build your composition from scratch. You get, and how your layers work. Now, if you want to import it from Illustrator, all you need to do is to go to your project panel, right click, import, click file, look for where you save the project file. Now this is very important. Import as composition. Now you can find out that everything we have are independently. Rita, are you following now? Rita, do you understand now?
Yes.
So this is how you could import your composition with Illustrator. Let me just give it a background. And with this, you don't so now you can now start animating, and animation can be very simple. The one I did, all what I just did was just using I use my preset, the text preset, animated the keyframe of my text. The next thing I did was I scaled it this way. I scaled it down and I moved it to the left. The other thing, the other details, you find out that this part are moving sequentially with the rest of the design. Now, if you notice, in my background, you can see like a pool ball or a safeguard just moving calmly. All these little
File
details.
Explorer is saying.
Hello?
No, your File Explorer, that's what I can see. Don't know if anybody
Oh,
can
are you
see File
serious?
Explorer.
Oh, sorry about that. Wow. Can you guys see me now?
Yeah, I can
Can
see
you
the
see my screen?
hangout stuff now.
Okay, what I was trying to explain is that the detailed animation I did was it's a basic animation. Again, it's very basic. I just animated my typography, my text using the animation reset. Again, after animating it, I just scaled it down. The game's refreshment animation meetup, I use opacity. Same thing with the watercut. Then this July, the same thing. If you notice, there is this water balloon moving gently in the background, and some little detail. So just this using these little principles or this little technique that we have learned so far, you can create something appealing as professional as this, just using this little detail. You get design can be anything. Motion design, it can be your any artwork. You get we are going to animate a logo, a simple logo on the next class, and this same we are going to do a simple logo on the next class. Then we are going to animate